What's going on, everybody? Chuck here, and I hope that you are having a fantastic day today. Got a few things going on. It's been a real busy week at work, so I haven't had a chance to film any of the other videos that I wanted to film, so I'm kind of doing this one as an impromptu sort of tour of the lawn. There's some problem areas that I've really started to notice here with the summer heat. You know, some heat stress, some weeds, and other stuff going on. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, what I want to do is I wanted to thank all of you, because as of yesterday, I hit 1,000 subscribers. And if you know anything about YouTube, that milestone is sort of one of the first big ones. I mean, hitting the 100 is a big one because you get to have the custom URL, so you can go to dadding all day, or I'm sorry, youtube.com/dadding all day. But 1,000 is the next big one, because you can become a YouTube partner, the monetization, and it sort of helps bump you up in the search and the algorithms, and that's just a peek behind the curtain. So it's a really big milestone, and I mean, considering my goal was 500, and some people thought I was being too modest for the 500 subscriber thing by the end of the year. But you know, I didn't know. You know, I had maybe 130 subscribers, 180, somewhere around there. And so I thought 500, yeah, that's a real, you know, that's a goal that you can really strive for, and I hope I get it. And I hit 1,000 by the end of June. So thanks to you all, that was possible. I honestly feel like I've cheated a little bit to get to this point, because I've had some really awesome opportunities. Most recently, Alan Hain, going to his house and hanging out with him and getting featured on that video that he did, and then my own after that, being put on the Yard Mastery creator email that he sends out. That was another big one. John Perry, big thanks to John Perry for putting me on the Next DIY Lawn channel, which was really big exposure for me and my channel. Recently though, Brett's Grasscapades, I was like at 975 the other night. And then I woke up in the morning and he had posted the night before, like, hey, you know, check out Chuck's channel and let's get him to 1,000. And that made a big impact. Hanging out with Mike, Real Low Dad here locally, was another big piece of exposure for me. Even going back into the beginning, Ben the Lawn Guardian shared my channel, or tweeted out my channel last fall, and that helped put me over the 100 subscriber mark, which was big. And then at the very beginning, Jeremy of The Greener Lawn shared my channel sort of at the beginning of last season, and that helped sort of get me started. So I've had a lot of really big breaks. It's kind of made me feel like I've cheated a little bit to get to this point, because a lot of other folks that haven't had those opportunities just yet. So I'm hoping I can, you know, pay that forward and, you know, help out some of the channels that, you know, I really enjoy that aren't quite at the 1,000 subscriber mark, and hopefully give them some recognition and notoriety. So I'm gonna start working on plans to get that going. So with all this being said, what I'm going to do is this Sunday, June 28th at 8:30 p.m., I'm going to go live. That's Eastern time. I'm going to go live for my 1K giveaway. My wife, as you can tell, I have a dadding all day hat, wonderful hat here with some hair gel on it, underneath it. My wife made me had some of these hats made for me, they're fitted for Father's Day. And so I'm keeping one. I have, I think, 3 extras to give away, so I'm gonna give away those hats. I have a dadding all day coffee cup I'm gonna give away, and then I also have a 50-pound bag of X-Start fertilizer. I also have a half, and that's last year's version, so it's not the X-Start DIY. I don't need that much starter fertilizer. I know you can sort of use it throughout the year, but I haven't been. I still have half a bag from last season as well, so I don't need a 50-pound bag. So I'm gonna give away that 50-pound bag to one of you. All you need to do is be live. Join me that day or that night, and you know, really, I just want to have a conversation with all of you, and thank you for logging on and subscribing and all that kind of good stuff. But in reality, I really just want a way to say thank you to all of you, chit chat with some of you, and then give away some stuff. So 8:30 Sunday, June 28th, I'm going live here on the YouTubes. Now, anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this lawn. So this angle always makes the lawn look fantastic. It helps at sundown, so the lawn looks really dark green. I mean, the color is really, really good. With all things considered, there are areas that are starting to check out because of some heat stress, and those areas are more that they have some compaction issues, so the water's not getting down to the root zone enough. So those areas are struggling a little more than others. But overall, I get 1.5 inches every week, and I water 3 times, so it's 1/2 inch 3 times a week. But overall, there are some areas, especially over here by the little tree, there is some heat stress there because it's in a weird part of the lawn where this sprinkler doesn't quite get there enough. That sprinkler over there missed it. That's when I put the sprinkler back there, it doesn't do it. So I've actually moved a sprinkler up and added another zone here in front of the rose bush that's helping that area out a little bit. It's looking a lot better than it did like 2 weeks ago. But now I can sit here and point out all the problem areas. I can see all the quackgrass that's popping up. I can see all the clover that's popping up. The wheatgrass, these little spots right there, I can see all those things. But if I post, and I've looked at this picture recently, the picture of what the lawn looked like in the summer of 2018 before I did my renovation, it's a 180. It looks fantastic. I have no complaints. I really, if you watch or listen to 83 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff, context is king, and seeing what it used to look like and what it looks like today, I shouldn't complain because it is looking so good. But let's go back to this area back here. It's kind of the biggest problem area. This is a problem area. It's gross. You have this, I think this is called wheatgrass. Only my son came out here. I recorded this once already, but I forgot to hit record on my microphone, so it didn't get it. We called it hay because that's essentially what it is. And it's only in these areas that are struggling with some compaction issues. If you go back to one of my earliest videos that I did on this channel back in 2018 before I did my overseed, this area was like a red clay rock essentially. And there's another spot right over here off camera that you can't see. And so that year I broke up this area with like a pickaxe, put some topsoil down, try to mix it in best I can, and it did okay. And then the heat of the summer, it dries up, it doesn't hold water very well, and it sort of turned back into rock. Now this year, it's actually holding a little bit better, which is surprising. There is some grass here, some fescue that's growing. There are some areas that are checking out. I gotta put down some dethatch here this summer to really help. Cause look, that's all thatch right there. But that being said, this area looks, it's struggling. But like I said earlier, context is king. When I see and go back and look at that video from 2018 to what this looks like today, it's improving. With hard work, it's gonna unfortunately, I think a lot of people think it's gonna be like a 1 season or half a season turnaround. That's not the way that this works. To turn this hard red clay rock into a place that can hold turf, it's gonna take it's gonna take some time. And in 2 years, I've gotten it to this, to where even this stuff wasn't growing 2 years ago. It was just rock. And so there's grass holding here. Obviously it grew well in the fall and the spring to have all this dead stuff, this dead grass or dormant grass. But it's definitely an ugly area, especially down the street. I talked about this last year as well. People driving up to the house, if they're coming from this way, this is the first thing they're gonna see until they get to the rest of the lawn. It's like, oh, that's nasty. But all things considered, it is turning around compared to 2 years ago, but still not quite where I want it to be. Here is some quackgrass that is popping up, and the only way to treat quackgrass is killing it off with glyphosate. Tenacity won't work. I'm sure there's some specialty herbicides that cost an arm and a leg. I don't know that for sure. I'm just, speaking out of what I'm thinking and not really doing any research. But the biggest way that people say is just you gotta either take a Q-tip or a paintbrush and paint each individual leaf to kill it, or you just sort of do a spot treatment of glyphosate and just spray this area, kill this area off, and then reseed it in the fall, which is maybe what I'm going to do, because there's an area here, there's some here behind the camera, there's a couple other areas over by down here by this tree. So there's definitely some areas where right here, there's some more right behind the tree. Some quackgrass is growing. But when you mow it, you don't even know that it's there. At least, you know, from people driving down the street. Obviously, I can see it. I know what it is. A lot of people may not know what that is driving down the street, so it doesn't matter to them. They just say, oh, look at that nice lawn. But I see all the imperfections. There's some oxalis. I don't quite know what that is. I don't know why I said oxalis, because it's probably not oxalis. There's something there. There's some clover in certain spots. Chuck, didn't you just do a Spectracide video and talk about how well it did and an update and all that kind of stuff? I did, and the update worked. It was like 95%, all the weeds were gone with that one treatment. A lot of these have sprung up after that treatment because Spectracide is not a pre-emergent. So things have popped up since then that I can do another treatment of Spectracide if I wanted to, or I just keep mowing. The heat of the summer is actually, I found this funny, the heat of the summer, a lot of this quackgrass I'm pointing at went away when it got to like we had like low 90s and high humidity. It went away, and then we've gone back to cooler like mid to low 80s, and now it's coming back. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but that's something I've noticed. Here is some wonderful, wonderful Bermuda grass that is growing. There is some fescue mixed in here. This is Bermuda. No, this is fescue. This is fescue, you can't really tell. This is Bermuda. But the Bermuda goes up, you know, maybe 6 feet from the curb is right here. So it's about 6 feet from the curb to where the Bermuda kind of really strongly transitions over to fescue. But the Bermuda is actually helping the lawn stay green because it's the time of year where Bermuda is going to do its thing. But I am going to start thinking about treating the Bermuda here soon because it's in the Bermuda growing season, which is the best time to kill it, is when it's actively growing. Along the street, more of this wheatgrass or whatever that is. But the Bermuda is here. At least it's getting fertilized and stuff, so it feels good on the feet, but I prefer my fescue more. And so I gotta get rid of this Bermuda. You know, I can sit here and I can pinpoint and say, oh man, it's not looking that good. Because of that picture, seeing that picture, it helps me, man, it's come a long way, and compared to back then, it looks absolutely fantastic. The strip is another story. The strip. Look at that. So first and foremost, I'm gonna say putting down perennial ryegrass was a mistake. Shouldn't have done that. Because there's some houses, not in my neighborhood, but I've driven by some houses that have perennial ryegrass, and they may have spent a little more money on a better variety. I don't know. But even there, just starting to check out a little bit, it doesn't like the Tennessee summers. It doesn't. And here along the driveway, you can sort of see the brown. That is where a lot of that perennial ryegrass was. There's also a height difference, so I can, not only is the color turning brown, the height isn't as tall as my fescue, obviously. It's a much lower growing. The grade I got was actually for like, you know, sporting areas like football fields and stuff. So or baseball fields and golf courses. So it's naturally a lower growing variety. So it's checking out, struggling. A lot of that same wheatgrass you can see. There's a dry spot right there that's heavily compacted, similar to over there by that corner I showed you. However, it's not because it was a rock. There's another reason why there's some compaction issue here, and I'm gonna talk about that in a second. But there are some good areas. Just remember, I did not do a pre-emergent treatment. So there's gonna be weeds. I did the Spectracide and it killed a lot of the weeds, but I did not do a pre-emergent on this. But the color, and there's some different varieties of things going on. Some of the fescue, some of the rye, there may even be some, I don't think there's any Poa trivialis, but, and Poa will go away now anyway this time of year. But the color's looking really good along here. Got some of that gross stuff there. Some of this lighter colored I don't know what that is. I think it's a different kind of POA, maybe. I don't know. Some clover. But on the feet, I mean, I'm wearing my shoes right now, but on the feet, this stuff is feeling good. It's looking good. Along here still. But then here's some area where grass did not grow in as well. And you can definitely see the change from that, where it may not look so great, but it looks okay. Looks okay. And then it just changes. This area is what I was talking about, heavy compaction. I am hitting this stuff with the Air RGS and the Aerate and the Humic, which is helping, but struggling. And then we get back to areas that are growing really well. There are some weeds, yes. No pre-emergent. This area here by the street has some weeds, but it's looking pretty good. I still don't know what this stuff is that popped up. But it is there, so I need to do a weed treatment in all honesty. But the strip is struggling. And so there's a couple reasons why I think the strip is struggling. This is me doing some very amateur detective work. One thing, putting the perennial ryegrass down was a mistake because it's checking out perennial lawn where it's more fescue. While not vigorous and thick, it is looking much better than that. Another thing is with the compaction areas, especially here in that area where that dead spot is, and that whole area that's struggling, I did not hit that with a core aeration last fall. I did a video on it, but I put some top dressing down here to just try to level it out, fix the spots that had some really bad grub damage, and so anywhere there where I had put topsoil, when I came with a core aerator, I did not touch those areas with a core aerator. And that may not seem like a big deal, but if I've shown pictures on my Instagram of the Project Father-in-Lawn. His lawn is looking really, really good. Now he doesn't have, now his lots, you know, those houses were like built in the 70s, so the soil is a little bit different. It's had more time to get some organic matter built into it, so it's not as new of clay as some of these newer lots. But at his house, he also, remember, I killed everything off. He applied topsoil over the whole lawn. He watered his lawn that day that we did the core aeration, but we put the core aerator over everything and broke up that topsoil that he put in there. And I think that made a huge difference on letting the grass grow, where here I did not break up a lot of that dirt and that I put from the core, or that dirt, I did not hit it with the core aerator. So those areas, like back there, and you know, other spots that just the grass didn't grow as thick, is because it's just become overly compacted because I didn't break up that soil. Now that's not science or anything, that's just me observing the difference between, what's the difference between here, the Project Father-in-Law, although the Project Father-in-Law was also, he killed everything off, or I killed everything off, where this was not. But he's not having that compaction issue. His grass is looking good and thick, where this, it's splotchy, especially in the areas I did not hit with the core aerator. So the strip continues to be a problem, but you know, we're gonna work on it. We're gonna make it look good. I'm giving it all the goodies. I'm still fertilizing it. I'm hitting it with the Humic, the RGS and the Aerate, the microgreen, other fertilizers and stuff to keep the soil improving, get the grass growing. I'm gonna put another treatment of weed killer on here and a fungicide, some dethatch, and in the fall, core aerate everything, overseed, and do it again here in the spring and see how it turns out. But overall, you know, it's struggling. There are some good spots, but you know, it's still a work in progress. It's not gonna be a 1 year, half a year turnaround. Sometimes when you do a renovation, it's gonna take some time to fully get it looking as good as it can. So it's gonna get there. It's just gonna take some time. So definitely a different video. Like I said, very last minute. I had a lot of stuff going on this week that I haven't had a chance to film anything else. So Once again, thank you all so much for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. Please don't forget that this Sunday, the 28th, I'll be going live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for my 1K giveaway. And then on Monday, which is the 29th, I'll be doing a video on my lawn watering system for 2020. I'm going away for a week and a half. The whole family is on vacation. And so I don't have in-ground irrigation. I've done videos on it in the past. So it's how am I gonna water a lawn for over a week with no in-ground irrigation and without running a bunch of hoses all over the place to hit all my zones where I need them. So you're gonna wanna check that out. And then finally, 4th of July, let's just say mullets, mowers, and mortars. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you all liked it. Like I said, definitely different. Strip is struggling. Main lawn looking pretty good, you know, especially if you compare it to a couple years ago. But anyway, I will see you all in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and God bless.